Hey guys, my name is Kaiji Tang. I'm a voice actor and I'm here recording an episode of We're Still Here for Martin. Excuse my voice, I was just yelling for 4 hours straight for a Wallace session. And if you don't know what that is, that's, you know, your favorite action movies always have those great crowd scenes where they're screaming and there's buildings falling everywhere. Yeah, so that. There's a lot of screaming in those things. Watch out! Rocks! Gunfire! Anyway. So usually Martin likes to start off these videos with something that makes you happy. So here's something that makes me happy. Video games. I've been a lifetime connoisseur of video games ever since I was a wee lad. And, you know, I was that kid at, like, you know, the Pizza Hut arcade with the Street Fighter 2 machine, and you know, I was that kid who knew the special moves, you know, and I wouldn't tell anyone because that's how I won. And it's like, how do you throw fireballs? I don't know. Or if I felt really smarmy, I'd be like, I don't speak English, I'm sorry, you know. Anyway, I was that kid. Video games for me have always been just this great escape, and a really great way to take my mind off of whatever's happening. Even now, whenever I get upset or just, you know, unbalanced, I will seal myself away in my man cave and just put something on. I'll play World of Warcraft, I'll play, you know, XCOM, I'll play, you know, whatever I have at the moment, whatever I'm not playing. I have this huge backlog of games I need to get through, and, you know, they've always just been a vehicle for me to calm down. Because, you know, when I was a kid, you know, all kids get picked on, all kids have really bad days. I always felt safe to retreat into my room and play Pokemon or whatever, and it got my mind off things. And I feel really honored to be able to work in video games today because I think they're amazing storytelling devices, and if you don't play video games, you should. You know, we've evolved beyond the, you know, the Frogger and you know, Asteroid days. You get real great cinematic quality these days in games. Yeah, so video games, they make me happy. Always down to play some. So yeah, video games. For my entire life, I've had, almost my entire life, ever since I moved to America from China, I've had issues with anger. And people who aren't native to America, who might look different from the mainstream, will understand this. It's hard fitting in when you're that young and you look very different, because kids can be really mean, and I dealt with a severe amount of bullying when I was little. Severe. And I used to be this really shy kid. Like, when I was young, I was this very quiet, very polite, very shy, you know, kid, and people over here did not take well to that for whatever reason. You know, you go to school and you're polite and you're respectful, kids make fun of you. You know, it sounds stupid now when we're growing up. It's like, oh yeah, of course you should be respectful. But, you know, back then, kids were ruthless. And I didn't know how to deal with that. Because it's never happened to me at that point in my life before. I didn't really understand why people were being that mean to me. And I didn't know, like, was it something I was doing wrong? Was it the way I looked? Was it the way I acted? And it got to the point where, you know, I went to my mom and I was like, you know, this is happening. This is happening to me at school. What do I do? And she looked at me, and I'll never forget, she looked at me and she said, don't let people get away with things. Now what she meant was, you should hold people accountable for the words and actions. You should, you know, tell an adult. You should, you know, never let them bully you for the sake of bullying you. You know, don't, basically stand up for yourself is what she was trying to say. But as a younger, dumber version of me, I took that in a complete opposite direction. I became this really mean kid. I bullied them back. And I started to really viciously bully them back. This is not something I recommend anyone to do. It was the wrong choice for me, but this is what sort of saved me back then and then damned me later on. Was I developed these really bad anger issues. If someone were to pick on me or disrespect me, I would go out of my way to harm them back, either physically or emotionally or something. I had to show them that there were consequences of doing what they did. Every time, every single time, every time someone made some remark about my race or something, anything, I would harm them very efficiently. And it got to the point where no one picked on me anymore. It was not the best way of going about it, but at the time, it worked as a defense. It was a self-defense mechanism. Unfortunately, I had convinced my brain that the way to survive is to be mean first, so that no one else is mean to you. I never told my parents that my brain formed that bridge. So they, as far as they know, I wasn't picked on after that. So basically throughout middle school, high school, college, even into my mid to late 20s, I had this thing where I would hurt people first before they got a chance to hurt me. And that's how I got through life. It's something you should not do, obviously. But that's where I was. That's the kind of person I was. And really, I'm trying, these past few years, I've been really trying to disconnect that bridge that my mind formed, that, you know, you need to mistreat people before they can mistreat you. It's been hard. It's hard to break a thing you've had in your brain for 20 plus years, you know. And the real issue that I've been dealing with is my mom passed away just a couple of years ago. My mom was always kind of someone I could call up whenever I got too angry. And she would always talk me through it. She would logic me out, you know? It's like, okay, this is why you're angry. These are the reasons why you shouldn't do this, this, and this. And everything is going to be okay. She was that person in my life. And when she died, I didn't know what to do. It felt like a large support structure in my life had just crumbled. A structure I've always had. When a parent dies, you're never really ready for it because you take them for granted, and it's sad to say, but you do. Everyone takes their parents for granted, you know, they just seem like people who will just be around, and, you know, one day they're not. And that was devastating, because I still suffered from all this anger, and it got worse and worse and worse. And I started mistreating people who were close to me. I got into my last relationship was toxic because I basically got into it because of negativity. The other person was a negative person. I was an extremely negative person at the time, and it was this weird typhoon of negativity that got us together, and we're like, all right, we're gonna show the world, you know, we're gonna piss so many people off, screw everyone. It was bad. It was really bad. After my mom died of pancreatic cancer, it happened within 6 months, my life fell apart. At least it felt like it did. I realized afterwards that I was actually acting because I wanted to prove to my mom that I could do it. Like, you know, I had come from a family of doctors, and it was a real fun conversation trying to convince 2 doctor parents that you wanted to be an actor. Let me tell you that much. And, you know, my parents were real pragmatic people. They come from the, you know, the Cultural Revolution years from China, so they're hardened. To put it lightly, they're hardened. I'll tell you a story really quick to give you an example. Like when I first got my first car, me, my dad, and my mom went to the dealership, and before we could go into the office to talk to the person helping us, my dad took my hand and sat me outside the room. And I was like, what's going on? And he's like, don't worry, your mom's got this. We were there for 2 hours straight, just standing outside listening to what I can only describe as yelling, really intense yelling, coming from inside the room. Now, I still don't know how she did this, but we left that day with a Ford Explorer and sold to us for no profit. It was terrifying. My mom was a scary woman. She did a lot of crazy things. She did something similar when we got a condo in Burbank too. Like she somehow figured out exactly how many families were living in the residence in the entire condo complex at the time, and you know, this was back when the economy was really, really bad, and she found out there were 4 families living there. So when we went to negotiate the price, she was like, you have 4 families living in your building. We're going to take this unit for $100,000 less than what you're asking, and you're going to like it, because you need the money. All right, bye. And it worked. That's just the kind of crazy person she was. And yeah, I miss her a lot. I miss my mom a lot. And the way her death affected me was really bad because, you know, most people would get depressed or sad and cry a lot. Because of the way my brain has been wired since I was a little kid, that depression turned into anger. Like, all of it turned into just seething rage. It was hard because, like, what do you get mad at, you know, when you lose someone to cancer? Do you get mad at the cancer? The cancer doesn't know it's cancer. It's not aware. How can you just be mad at it? Who do you blame? No one, you know? So there was nothing I could even focus all this anger on. I was just angry. I was so angry. I blamed everyone and everything. It started to get to the point where I was just pissed off that people were alive instead of my mom. You know, how dare you be alive instead of my mom, who's lived such an amazing life, and she helps so many people with her medicine, and you know, she's done so much. Why are you still here? And she's not. And it got worse from there. I started blaming the very reality I live in. And it's like, why is this allowed to happen? You know, how is it that something like this could happen in the world I live in to someone like my mom? So it got really dark. I respected no one and nothing, and I was spiraling really hard. Every day I was furious. I'm not even quite sure how I managed to function for those 2 years. And it hasn't been till recently that I finally started to come around a little. I had to sit down and ask myself some very, very hard questions about where I'm going in life and what I wanted out of it. Would my mom want me to be this angry? Would she want me to continue on? And the answer was yes, of course my mom wouldn't want me to dwell. But it's so hard, you know? Because, you know, she's my mom, and how do you get over losing your mom? You don't, really. You never get over losing your mom, but you can learn to live with it. And it's been a struggle to not immediately flip out and start blaming when I think about my mom. I don't want to live in a mental state where every time I think about my mom I get angry, because that's not what she deserves. She's lived such an amazing life. She doesn't deserve someone getting mad whenever they think of her, even if it's getting mad for her. That's not what she would want. It's a struggle to get through. But I will say, in the past couple of years, something good has happened. I've met my new girlfriend, Marcy Edwards, and she's the brightest, kindest person I've ever met in my life. And she's really helped me, undeservedly, I would almost say, helped me get through a lot of the pain and anger I was putting myself through. And I know that now. No one else was doing it. I was putting myself through it because I couldn't disconnect that bridge. I couldn't just be sad about my mom. I had to be angry. I had to lash out. I had to, I felt like I had to stop it before it could hurt me, and that was wrong. Everything about that was wrong, and she showed me that, it sounds hokey, and it sounds cheesy, and it sounds Disney-esque almost, but love is stronger than anger. I love Marcy more than I'm angry. That's been a huge realization. I love her so much more than my anger, and I don't want her to be hurt by it. I found something that I don't want to lose, and I have to change. I have to change my way of thinking. I have to change my way of behaving, because I don't want to lose Marcy. I love her very much. So every time I get mad now, I think about how much I love my girlfriend, and how stupid it is to get mad, to get really mad over a situation like this after so long too. Now, I'm not saying the loss of a loved one should be something you aspire to overcome as some sort of hurdle. It's not. It's never going to happen. When you lose a parent, it affects you for the rest of your life. You will have to change to move on with your life, to not get over it because you won't, but to move on, to live the rest of your life. And I still miss my mom. Sometimes when I'm driving in the car by myself, I'll just start crying because I miss her so much. That's something I've been dealing with for the past couple of years now, and I'm getting to a better place. I'm getting to a much better place. I can actually have healthy, brighter outlooks on life, and I can actually wish friends well, which was impossible before. I couldn't do it. But I can honestly look at friends now and be like, I'm glad that you're doing so great, because you deserve it. All of you deserve to be happy, and to pursue what makes you happy, and to live your dreams, and to not have negativity bog you down, and to anyone watching, I'm sorry if I've been the source of any of that negativity in the past few years. It's just, I've been dealing with a lot of anger. My mom died. My grandma died too, and my grandpa just passed away too. But that was from old age. He lived a long life, and he was surrounded by friends and family. It's hard. It just kind of feels like my family's disappearing one by one. But when I thought about this kind of stuff before, I used to just lash out and be angry and just be furious, but it's almost a relief now that I can feel something other than anger as a first emotional response, like sadness. It sounds dumb, but I'm glad to feel sad and not angry. So yeah, thanks for listening to this. It's a journey, step by step. So for those of you out there who have lost loved ones, who have, God forbid, lost your parents or one of your parents, I wish I could sit here and tell you it gets easier. It doesn't. It doesn't get easier. You just learn to manage it. And you just learn to live with it. You have to learn how to live with it. Because for the longest time I didn't. I just defaulted. I defaulted back on my anger issues. And that's what kept me safe. That's what kept me safe my entire life. And I counted on it to keep me safe now. And it doesn't work. It never works. It just leaves you in a worse place than you were. So, if any of you out there are dealing with anger issues, please seek help. If any of you have lost a loved one, please talk to someone. I wish I was strong enough to do it on my own, but I wasn't. I wasn't strong enough to do it on my own. I was lucky because I found Marcy. So, if you could find someone, anyone to help you, there's no shame in that. Alright, well, I guess that's me. Thank you for watching. If you're in any need of help, please reach out. You'll find some very helpful numbers in the description, I'm sure. Yeah. Alright. Good talking with you guys. I'll see you later.